I've been playing house for 6 years with a man who never really saw me, so I'm packing up and leaving before he gets home to show him what he lost. Posted by you/OK_im_her. I, 31F, have been living with my boyfriend, 42M, for a little over 6 years. From the very start, everything moved so fast, and I jumped into a new life before thinking. There is so much to say about the 6-year history we have, mixed with good, but a lot of bad. He is divorced with 2 kids. The kids were 10 and 8 when we started dating, now they are 16 going on 17 and 14 going on 15. I have no kids and have never been married, but I do have the best lil pooch, who is now 13 years old. We have been good the last 6 to 8 weeks, so this may come as a surprise. No, there were no recent big fights. We have been going about life in this routine. I wake up, go to work, come straight home, walk our dogs. Oh, we just adopted a new pup 7 months ago, cook dinner, clean up, shower, and then bedtime. I do this every day. My boyfriend doesn't have a conventional job, so he can go weeks or months without working. I have a stable 9 to 6 job, Monday through Friday. So he's usually home while I'm at work. Today is the first time he is going to work since the year started. After 6 years with him, it has never been easy to talk about hard topics or my feelings. I always felt dismissed. To keep the peace, I always felt I had to play the part he expected and wanted. I can admit I am a bit of a people pleaser, and I do love very hard. I always gave him the benefit of the doubt and hoped for things to get better. At this point, I have isolated myself from my friends and family, and I don't even recognize myself anymore. I want to be a wife and mother more than anything, but I am afraid the way we are going is not leading there. I feel like my boyfriend is okay with just being boyfriend and girlfriend. I have given everything I can, helping with the kids, doing all the cooking and cleaning, and prioritizing him by giving him all of my free time. He gets sensitive when I try to make plans that don't involve him, and usually it leads to big fights until he guilts me to the point that I just gave up on a social life. As I get closer to my 40s, I am freaking out. Time is of the essence, and I don't want to wake up in my 40s with regret. There is so much to say about the dynamic, but long story short, I feel like the only way things will change is if there is a big change. We are both equally comfortable in this routine. I know I am not living life the way I truly want. I have tried to bring up ways to change the dynamic, but it usually leads to him telling me things that sound nice, but it never happens. He's all talk and no action. When I try to act on the things we talk about, it leads to huge blow-up fights. I do love him so much, but I just can't live life like this. My sister is moving, so there is an opportunity to take over her lease. My plan is to leave before he gets home from work and to write a letter explaining myself. I don't want to break up, but I need him to start taking me and this relationship seriously. I want us to be intentional and actually do the things we talk about. I wish I could talk to him instead of doing things this way, but I am afraid of a big fight happening. Am I the jerk for secretly moving out while he's at work? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Are you moving out in an attempt to get him to change into the person you want him to be? Because that's not going to work. If he was going to change, was capable of change, and wanted to change, he's had 6 long years to do it, and you leaving isn't going to lead to any lasting change. He may be able to sustain a change in the short term to lure you back in, but it won't last, and as soon as you come back, he will backslide into the same old behaviors. You need to accept that you and he are just not compatible. If you want to leave, then that's great, but you need to do it for you, so that you can move on and have the kind of life, and find the kind of person that you want. Not in some misguided attempt to manipulate him into acting like the person you want him to be. Commenter 2. I agree with this statement. You aren't the jerk, but you should probably just break up with him to his face because you don't want the same things. That's okay, you shouldn't be made to feel like you have to hide leaving, and you shouldn't feel like leaving is going to give him magical feelings. Just do it for you so you can move toward what you want. Commenter 3. Why would this man change when he purposely chose a woman 11 years his junior to be a free nanny, maid with benefits, and pay his bills? He's living in the perfect dynamic where you give, and he takes it all. Of course he's going to shut you down. The maid with benefits should never have a voice to question him. Don't waste any more of your good years on this loser. The fact that you have isolated yourself from your friends and family is so sad. Ask yourself, what do you have to show for these 6 years you've given him? Leave, but don't try to stay with him. Update 15 days later. I am overwhelmed by how many responses the original post got. I was filled with mixed emotions after reading everything. I ultimately needed time to process before writing again on Reddit. So, I took most of the advice and decided to wait for him to get home to talk instead of leaving a letter and leaving while he was at work. Before I get into the update, I want to address a lot of people's concerns about there being a possible DV situation and toxic relationship. You were all right. Update: I decided to pack up my car with all of my important items. I cleaned the house, cooked, showered, and wrote out all my thoughts on what I wanted to say, because I tend to lose track of my thoughts when I'm in high tension conflicts. I wanted to make sure he understood why I felt the need to move out after 6 years. He got home around 9 p.m., and I asked if he could join me on the couch to talk. He immediately started to get anxious, asking me to hurry up and get to the point. I started to read the letter, and I couldn't help but cry as I read. When I got to the part, "I have decided it is best for me to move out, but if you want to work on our relationship, I am open to it," he snapped. He snatched the letter out of my hand and ripped it up. He spat in my face and called me trash. At this point, I was trying to get my dogs and leave the house. He grabbed me by my hair and started hitting me. I tried my best to defend myself. I was screaming for help, hoping the neighbors would hear me, but no one came to my rescue. I eventually lost the strength to fight back and just laid there on the floor, hoping he would get tired and stop kicking and punching me. My dogs were hysterical. My youngest dog tried to bite him and protect me, but all it did was make him more upset. I used my body to shield my dog from getting hit. By the time he stopped, and I looked at the time, it was midnight. He had locked himself in the room, and I could hear him crying and screaming for me to please forgive him. I didn't have the strength for anything. I sat in my blood and tears, numb and dead inside. I still can't believe what happened, and I am so disappointed in myself for letting the relationship last as long as it did. There were times he showed aggression, but he always found a way to convince me it would never happen again. When I thought he finally went to sleep, around 3 a.m., I took my dogs and left. I went to my sister's apartment about 40 minutes away. Luckily, she was staying at her boyfriend's house, so I was alone. I still have not found the strength to tell anyone what happened. I called out of work and stayed inside the apartment while my wounds healed. It's been about 2 weeks, and I am now seeking professional help and planning on taking myself to the doctor to get checked out. I know I need to tell someone what happened, but I am feeling so embarrassed. Thank you all for the kind words, and to the ones who advised me to talk to him, F you. I hope anyone dealing with a similar relationship can learn from me. Follow your gut and leave. Don't let outside opinions cause you to doubt your instincts. Edit. I have videos and pictures of the injuries. I know I have to go to the police, but honestly, I'm in this psychological warfare. He has 2 kids, and I feel like I'm responsible if their dad goes to jail. This is something I know I need to overcome, and that's why I'm taking the necessary steps to mentally prepare myself by seeking professional help. If anyone has any recommendations on how to go about this, I would really appreciate it. This all feels like a nightmare that I just want to be over. I haven't told any loved ones yet because it will just make everything more real. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Sweet God, who the hell tells a woman living in a DV situation to speak to the abuser in person before leaving? Leave quietly and quickly whilst he's away. Never, ever speak to him in person. Leave a note or send a text later when you're far, far away. I hope Op goes to the police and keeps a record, selfies of her injuries. Commenter 2. I agree, but to be fair, that isn't at all how she portrayed their relationship, no mention at all of aggressive behavior. Op's response. Yeah, you're right. I did leave out a lot, but mainly because I was in denial. I realize how much I was in denial looking back. I wanted to see the good in my relationship. I was, and still am, very embarrassed by it all. How did I let myself go so far and become so blind to it all? Second update 1 day later. Hi everyone. I just wanted to start by saying I am so grateful for all of the support during this. After reading everyone's comments, and yes, I may not respond to every comment, but I do take time to read everything coming in, because Reddit and you all here are the only people I have told about this, and it's helping me put everything that has happened in perspective. I have been doing more and more research on DV. Before this relationship, I had luckily never experienced a toxic relationship. All of my past relationships have always ended amicably, with love and respect. I never had to deal with any boyfriends screaming at me, intense jealousy, etc. So it was very hard for me to even notice what I was in. My ex was very good at talking. We always used to joke that he should have become a lawyer because of how convincing he knows he can be. I am in a place where I am facing everything head on now, instead of hiding in my sister's apartment, hiding from the world. I can admit, I am a survivor. What happened was not my fault, and I want to apologize for how I came across blaming the Redditors for bad advice. The emotion I am feeling now is rage. I was trying to find someone to blame for what happened to me. And the only person to blame is the effing psychopath loser ex of mine. I decided I am going to the police today. I was feeling bad for him, which I found out is called Stockholm Syndrome. His kids are 14 and 16, and I was worried that I would be the reason they wouldn't have a father around. Taking everyone's concerns for the kids into consideration, I knew it was my responsibility to protect them from this happening to them. I called the kid's mother last night to tell her everything that happened. Just to give as much context before going into the update, the mother and my relationship started out bad. She did not like or respect me. She did not agree with the big age gap and always made it a point to say I was the young bimbo trying to take the father's money, even though I have always worked and paid for everything I have. I have never asked him to ever financially take care of me. Over the 6 years, we have become more friendly. She eventually stopped badmouthing me to her kids and everyone else in the family. But I always felt the need to prove myself to all of his family and friends. So, I called the mother to let her know what happened and that I was planning on going to the police. I even sent her pictures and videos of my black eyes, cuts and bruises, and a bald spot from hair being pulled out. What happened next literally changed everything for me. I went from being sad and depressed to now feeling nothing but anger. I am shaking while I write this because I'm still in shock. She responded with, "Well, I knew this would eventually happen because it happened to her." She went on to tell me the reason they got divorced was because he was beating her in front of her kids, and after 10 years of marriage, she finally got a lawyer and divorced him. She had multiple restraining orders that he did not follow. He got arrested 2 to 3 times, but was never convicted of anything because she dropped the charges, not wanting her kids to be without a father. I am furious. She was undocumented, and her marriage was going to help her become a citizen. She ultimately got her citizenship through the process of VAWA, through marriage to an abusive legal permanent resident. I am so angry because no one told me or warned me. I feel this could have been avoided if someone would have tried to warn me. So now, no more nice guy. Screw him, this guy is going to jail. I will be making sure he never does this to anyone again. Thank you all for the support once again. Third update same day. I tried to write a second post, but it was removed. I am in disbelief at how much negative feedback my posts have been getting. What is going on, people? I hate to bring focus to the negativity, but I feel the need to address the absurd comments. There are people accusing my story of being fake, and apparently, someone out there is using my story for their own entertainment. Let me make this clear. I chose to lean on Reddit because I was isolated from friends and family and was searching for support while I found the strength to tell my loved ones. When I made the original post, I had no idea it would lead to DV. I hope that by sharing, I could help someone who is in a similar situation. I would like to think this is a community of kindness and open-mindedness toward each person's struggles. I know I struggle with putting into words how I feel and what's going on, especially in difficult conflicts. I might not be choosing the right words or expressing myself correctly, but I am human, having a human experience. I'm doing my best. What's funny is that now I find myself explaining myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. Thank you to everyone who was kind and supportive. It is because of you guys that I found the strength to go to the police. I was going through so many emotions after finding out last night that my ex's wife had been through the same thing. She never once warned me. I'm not trying to blame anyone for the situation, the only person to blame is that loser ex of mine. His ex-wife was undocumented, and she stayed married for 10 years while being abused so she could remain in the country with her kids. She ended up going through VAWA through marriage to an abusive legal permanent resident. I wish she would have tried to warn me somehow, but I don't blame her. I'm just feeling so many emotions after this situation. Now I'm dealing with anger. So to conclude, it's probably best for my mental health to stay off Reddit and focus on reality. I have gone to the police, I will be seeing a therapist/psychiatrist tomorrow, and I'm putting in all the work to heal myself inside and out. I hope my story can shed light on the complexity of DV. And once again, thank you to all who were kind and supportive. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I'm sorry that you went through this horrific experience, and I'm so glad that you are safe now. However, in your last post, you got really angry at people who encouraged you to actually talk to your partner of several years instead of ghosting him in the middle of the day. If you didn't know he could potentially become violent, how were we supposed to know? Your original post just made it sound like you were bored with the monotony and lack of ambition. No one had any idea it would go like this. You ended your post with "F you," and that was upsetting to read. You're blaming the wrong people for what he did to you. Be angry at your ex. It's not a random internet stranger's fault. Again, if you had no idea he was capable of this, how would we? Ops response. Yeah, I can see that now. My emotions have been all over the place, and trying to regulate them through this has been tough. I can see how my words seemed like I was placing blame, and I can see how my original post didn't allude to the possibility of DV. I was, and still am, in a very fragile state. I was living in denial, and while a lot of people did give more positivity than negativity, because I was so fragile, I focused on the bad and let certain comments sway my decisions about talking to him. I knew something felt off, not due to the monotony of life, but because in past relationships, it was never difficult for me to maintain a healthy social life while balancing a romantic relationship. After 6 years, I was in so deep, and I didn't convey everything that was going on. He had made me believe I was the one to blame, that I was crazy, so at the time of my original post, I was struggling with trusting myself. But I hope that after all the updates, people can see I'm not blaming Reddit or anyone besides my ex. Adds an edit to her post. This was a response to a comment that I thought would give more context on the ex-wife. I'm trying my best not to be emotional in my responses, and it's way too much writing to do if I sat here trying to explain everything that happened in the last 6 years, but his ex was horrible to me when we first started dating, and I struggled with understanding why. I used to hear them arguing for hours on a daily basis. When things started to get serious and I moved in, I tried to reach out to her woman to woman so we could have a formal meeting, since I would be living in a house her kids would be at, part-time. She declined all of my outreach. In the first year, I used to take the kids shopping to get her Mother's Day gifts, Christmas gifts, and even a birthday gift. I was trying so hard to get accepted by his family, including his ex-wife. I wanted there to be a peaceful, loving relationship with all of us. I hate conflict and try to avoid it at all costs. She would badmouth me, call me a young bimbo who's trying to take all of their father's money, when I never asked him for financial support. I always worked and had my own things going for myself. So to find out what she went through, I was shocked. There were even times she tried to get back with him, and he would show me the messages. After a few years, she saw I was sticking around and slowly stopped all the hate, and we began to be more friendly. She had so many opportunities to share what happened and why they got divorced, but she didn't. There were no signs, the only signs were just weird, inconsistent stories. Looking back, I can see I was naive, and I should have never involved myself in this weird family dynamic. Commenter 2. Wait, so he beat his ex-wife in front of the kids, leading to restraining orders, which he then violated, leading to arrests, and he still had partial custody of the kids. Commenter 3. If the violence isn't directed at the kids, or can't be proven that it has been, many judges will allow the parent custody. The prevailing belief is that they're abusive to their spouse, not the children, so there's no reason to prevent the relationship. There are also cases where parents get custody of children when they're accused of SA of a different gender child, with the same reasoning.